Hi folks, so a few words about Succession's finale. And yes, there's going to be a few spoilers, I'm afraid, in these comments, so this might be a good time to bid me farewell if you don't want me to ruin your experience. Is it a tragedy? Is it a comedy? I think it's a silly discussion. Of course it's a tragedy. Like all tragedies, it is charged with humor, dark humor, but it is a tragedy. What is tragedy? I think it's human experience at its most extreme. It is character, personality, and circumstance shown under a very particular light, pushed to the limits. Human experience produces humor. But we have the sensation, the feeling all along, perhaps the conviction, that everything is doomed. So that humor gives us only passing respite from the idea that everything is doomed. And that's why it's a tragedy. There's a few key moments that I think define the entire series very potently. One such moment is Ewan's eulogy of his late brother Logan, the mogul who has died. At the church, of course, you might remember Logan's children try to prevent Ewan from taking the podium because they know he's going to say some pretty harsh things about his brother. But in effect, what he does is very interesting. He reveals to us, we learn for the first time, some of the childhood experiences that shaped Logan's character and go a certain way towards explaining that conduct. But they don't justify that conduct. And that's the interesting thing. Ewan doesn't justify him. He still sees evil in him. And he tells us that there's a dark side to Logan that is not explained by everything that happened before to him. And that evil, that mysterious dark side in Logan, we've intuited all along throughout the series, and Ewan gives some powerful words to it. I think that's a key moment. Another key moment is Madsen's treason of Shiv. Shiv, of course, is one of the Logan children who has been for a long time wanting to inherit her father's empire, conglomerate in the US. Madsen is a Swedish businessman who is the head of a streaming conglomerate, and he wants to take over this American company. So Madsen promises Shiv that he will appoint her CEO. Shiv has in turn let Madsen know that the only way for him to make this deal in the US, where there's a strong nationalist, anti-foreign sentiment, in fact, a very hardcore nationalist has just been elected to the presidency, is for him to appoint a US, an American-born CEO. So Madsen says to Shiv that he will appoint her CEO if the deal goes through, but he betrays her. He goes to her estranged husband, to Tom, who's also a manager at Logan's company, and tells him this. He tells him that he's sexually attracted to his wife. His estranged wife, Tom and Shiv, have been separated for a while, but they're still connected. And he tells him, I am sexually attracted to her, and I cannot appoint her CEO because of that. We also, as viewers, understand, of course, that in many ways, Madsen sees Shiv as too strong a personality, and that will make for a difficult CEO, someone who might not be easy to manipulate. But ultimately, the reaction from Tom is what's really poignant in this scene, because Tom lets Madsen know, in so many words, that he will accept Madsen having a sexual relationship with his wife in exchange for power. What power? Well, Madsen offers him the job of CEO if the deal goes through. The third moment, towards the very end, happens during the board meeting at which the major decision is going to be taken, whether to accept or reject the deal. In other words, Madsen's takeover of the Logan Empire in the US. There's a 6-6 split, and Shiv is going to have the defining vote. She leaves the room for a while. Her two brothers, who are for, of course, the survival of the Logan Empire and want to reject the deal, go after her. they all gathered together in an adjacent room. And this is very poignant. The three siblings tear each other apart. They accuse each other of all sorts of things. They point to their weaknesses, their foibles, their sins. And then they go back to the room for a vote. And then we have the final vote. Shiv betrays her brothers, particularly Kendall, who would become the CEO if the deal doesn't go through. And then she's seen in a car with Tom, her estranged husband, who has become CEO, awkwardly, coldly holding hands together. And her expression is not the expression of victory. Of course, she's not going to become CEO. She's only going to vicariously enjoy some power through Tom, from whom she's separated after all. And there are deep wounds there on both sides. She has betrayed her brother. So, in a way, this is more a defeat than a victory. But that whole ambiguity is what makes this scene so enormously telling. So what do these moments tell us? They tell us about the heart of darkness that is human experience when placed in certain circumstances, the circumstances of power. They tell us also about the fine line that separates power from freedom, victory from defeat. They tell us about the fragility of civilization when tested by barbaric tribe, by the call of the tribe, and tested by the impulse of power and empire. Many works of art through history have, of course, dealt with these eternal themes. Even cinema has done so. Very rarely has television done this. And even more rarely in such a powerful, poignant, persuasive way.